Hello, my lovely listeners. I hope you are doing well today, and I hope you're ready, because today we have 5 more creepy encounters at Wal-Mart. This is not really a part 2, but a continuation of these stories from Wednesday, which was 5 creepy encounters from Wal-Mart. Shocker. I hope you're ready, because these are some good stories. Again, these are all true stories, so please do be respectful to the people who wrote them and the people that experienced these situations. Obviously, thank you to everybody who did let me narrate these stories. I really do appreciate it. And hopefully in the future, I'll be able to do another collection like this as well. That all said, I hope you guys are ready, because this is 5 more creepy encounters at Wal-Mart. Enjoy. My friend and I, who I will call S, needed to get some things at our local Walmart. To give a little more detail, both my friend and I are females and in our 20s. I'm a little taller than her. I'm 5'3", her being maybe 5'1". Now, I hate going to stores at night, especially without my husband, but he's currently deployed and her husband works nights. So we decide to go by ourselves. It was around 5 p.m. and it gets dark fast where we live. We walk in and make our way to one side of the store where all the home appliances are. I felt like I was being stared down, so I turned around to see a tall, slender man in a hat, heavy coat, and glasses. Do note that it's 70 degrees where I live right now. He looked to be in his late 30s or early 40s. I moved behind my friend because I thought maybe I was in his way, and he looked like he was in a hurry to be somewhere. He doesn't pass, and I still felt his eyes on me. I turn around again and look directly at him, hoping he'd get that I know that he's staring. He turns and bolts the other way, so I think, okay, maybe he got the hint. We go to get what we need on that side of the store. As we are down one aisle, I look over to see the same man looking down every aisle. He stops to look at us for a second, and then continues to walk. I should also note that this dude didn't have a cart or anything in his hands. I say something to my friend, but we both shrug it off. I mean, he could be looking for someone that he came in with, right? We needed something on the other side of the store, in the food section, so we make our way over, cutting through the clothing area, women's clothing to be exact. I look over and notice that he's a couple aisles away, and he keeps glancing over at us. He looks like he is trying to keep up with our pace. I told her, and we cut right towards the baby section to lose him. We walk toward the food aisles and notice that he's pacing around there. I grab her arm, and we head to the electronics, since there are workers over there. I see a female worker and tell her, hey, I may be being paranoid, but I think there's a man following us. I gave her a description, and she tells us to go act like we're going to print off some pictures from our phones. We go sit at the station while she calls for security. A female security officer comes over, and we give his description again. As we are doing so, I notice that he is walking back to the electronics section. I point over to him, but try to make it non-obvious. He saw us talking to the officer and turns the other way towards the front of the store. The officer gets the other officer, a male, to go track him down. She walks us over to the food section to get what we need. I'm shaking at this point. We see the male officer, and he said he saw the man bolt out of the store really fast. We checked out, and they both walk us to our car. Now, I read a lot about this stuff online, and I'm already a very paranoid person when I go places, but I never thought it would actually happen. I don't know what the dude's intentions were, but knowing sex trafficking is a big problem anywhere, I didn't get a good feeling. The whole situation still makes me sick to think about. My thoughts on it are, he was looking for females who were by themselves to try to creep on. He could have very well followed us to our car if we wouldn't have reported it. There is no telling how bad the situation could have gotten. We thank the officers for everything and take the long way to her house, and stopped to get food to make sure he wasn't following us. Luckily, he wasn't. So, creepy guy at Walmart, let's not meet again. In general, I'm a very paranoid and conscious person. I live in a decent-sized town for college, and I was buying groceries alone one evening, 19 female at the time. I was minding my own business and filling my cart when I realized this middle-aged man in a baseball cap was in the aisle with me with no basket or cart. At the time, it was odd the way he was looking at items, but I thought maybe he was just coming in for one or two things. Then I went through a few more aisles, and every time I went somewhere, he was also there, still with nothing in his hands. At this point, I was expecting the worst and also getting creeped out by this dude. My first thought was that if he actually was following me, if I went to another random part of the store, he would also follow. I decided to go to the complete opposite side of the store, to the most random aisle I could think of, kitchen accessories. I went there and didn't see him at first while I was acting like I was looking at Tupperware, and then sure enough, he was at the end of the aisle. I got really creeped out at this point and decided to go through a bunch of aisles and middle of clothing sections, instead of the main center aisle, to try and get away from him to check out. I went back to pick up another item of food that I forgot and seemed to lose him, and then proceeded to check out. I never saw him after that point, but I was still freaked out, and I asked an employee to escort me out, which they did. I was super paranoid in the parking lot, but again, never saw the man again. To this day, I'm always on the lookout for anyone odd while shopping because that could have ended very differently. So I work at Wal-Mart, and for the last 2 months, I've encountered a strange man that would be at my job precisely at the same time that I'm supposed to show up and clock in. It's always me driving up to my job at 11 a.m., and the encounters start with him seeing me pull up in my car and then waving at me as I drive by him. The first time he did this, I just ignored him because I figured maybe he thought I was someone else, but he followed my car on foot and stood at a distance from my car and just waved at me to roll down my window. He then would circle the whole parking lot on foot just to stop a few feet from my car and just stare at me. I ignored him again, and he walked away. After the first time, I didn't see him for a week, and then he showed up again in the same spot and time and did the same thing, followed my car down the parking lot until I parked, and just waved at me to roll down my window again. When I didn't listen, he walked back to the entrance of the store, and he stood there waiting for me to get out of my car. At this point, I was creeped out because this man really was making a huge effort to communicate with me, even though I've never met this man before in my entire life. I had to call my manager to tell them that I was stuck in my car because of him, and I had to end up coming in through the back door because I was afraid of what would happen if I walked up to him. He left after this. The third and final time that I saw him, which was about a week or so ago, I actually saw him first in the driveway coming up to Wal-Mart, and I watched him stare at me in my rearview mirror and then start following me to my parking spot again, like the last 2 times. This time though, he was bold and just decided to walk right up to my window as if he was going to tap on it. I honked my horn loudly, hoping someone would hear me. I work outside taking groceries to people's car, so there were associates working near my car. The guy backed up a few paces, and I rolled the window down just enough to say, "Stop following me or I'm going to call the police." The guy stared at me in disbelief and mumbled, "I'm sorry," before walking off. I recorded him walking away, and he saw me and still waved goodbye to the camera. After this last time, I reported the incident to management and security at Wal-Mart, and they assured me the next time they see him in the store, they would tell him he's not welcome there anymore. I have not encountered this man since then. This really creeped me out because I've never seen this man before in my life, and it was like every time he saw me, he wanted to tell me something. Now, it's always in the back of my mind when I show up for work. I just moved to Northern Virginia from Central Texas a few months ago, and it's still taking some time to get acclimated. My girlfriend and I moved up after graduation. She's currently enrolled in grad school, while I'm trying to find the right job for myself. She's currently in an opera center at her university, and 1 or 2 days a week I'm left to my own devices from 11 a.m. to midnight, as she has daytime classes, afternoon work, and the night rehearsals all stacked up in a row. On one such day, I decided I would surprise her with some cookies when she got home. It was around 11 p.m., so I figured it would be the perfect time to go get a pack of those Nestle chocolate chip pre-made cookie cubes. Being a denizen of Texas, I'm used to shopping at Heb late at night. A relatively tame shopping experience with little to no danger, other than the occasional person asking if you can spare some gas money. I had heard rumors of late-night Wal-Mart and all the eldritch terrors that lurked within, but being a relatively cautious young dude, I figured I'd be alright. The demographics in the store were pretty typical for what I'd seen in the day. Older folks pedaling around, Latino families, macho tattooed dudes, a gaggle or two of undergrad kids. Then I go to the nut aisle. I excused myself as I walked past an older dude in a green windbreaker and khaki shorts, and began to peruse the selection of nut mixes for a light snack while the cookies would be baking. That was when I noticed this erratic movement out of the corner of my eye. I'm not an idiot, so if I notice something fishy or dangerous, I try not to make it obvious that I have noticed it. I guess I think there is some sort of strength in keeping that information to myself until the time is right. The movement in question was emanating from a single dude coming down the aisle. He was around 5'4" and wearing a burgundy tracksuit. He was white, possibly with a little Asian mixed in, and wore a black cap over what looked like greasy hair that had been bleached blonde. Now, I haven't really described the way he was moving, because I don't really know the word for it. It was almost like he was dancing, but not like he wanted to. Looking back, I'm almost certain the dude was tweaking, and the jitters that came with it were rocking through his entire gait. This dude could simply not be still. He was looking at products, and then immediately turning on his heel and continuing down the aisle, rinse, repeat. It was so odd. He got closer and closer to me, and I immediately tensed up and prepared myself for him to talk to me. To my surprise, he did not. I breathed out a sigh of relief, and my amigo in the shorts, or shorts man, left the aisle and began to walk toward the self-checkout. Burgundy dude followed. Oh, okay. That's probably his son or something, and he's got some kind of development issue. No biggie, I thought to myself. And yet, curiosity got the better reason, as it always does. I decided to peek and see if I could at least get a sample of their family dynamic as I walked through the store. Here's where it gets almost comical. So, Shorts Man was making a beeline for the registers. He was done shopping, he just wanted to check out, obviously. And yet, Burgundy Dude, in all of his jittering glory, continued to check products, walk, continue on. But he wasn't doing it in the same beeline. He was bouncing from location to location. He would check an end cap on aisle 14, walk across the racetrack to look at a row of dress shirts and soft lines racks, then move to the end of aisle 12, so on and so forth. But he was still going about the same path that Shortsman was. Holy crap, he wasn't with Shortsman, he was following Shortsman, and he was trying to look inconspicuous while doing it. The actual idiot thought he was being sneaky in a deep red tracksuit, bouncing around the store like a locomotive and trying to blend into the environment like he was a character in Assassin's Creed or LA Noire or something like that. I was dumbfounded. As if to ensure that my evaluation of the situation was correct, Shortsman, perhaps having noticed Burgundy Dude already too, doubled back a few aisles into the baking goods, and wouldn't you know it, Burgundy Man forgot he needed to check the nutrition facts on that 20-ounce bag of chocolate chips for approximately 2.5 seconds in that aisle as well. It was at that point, after Shortsman and his crimson tail had rounded the corner to the registers, that I had lost them for the time being. I went ahead and paid for my stuff, and then began to head to my car. Now, when I was inside the store, the idea of Burgundy Dude was funny, hilarious even. I was surrounded by other people, and here was this bumbling, possibly drugged out buffoon with Secret Agent Man by Johnny Rivers playing on repeat in his head. But when I was outside in the parking lot, it suddenly became a lot more distressing. There weren't witnesses everywhere, my field of vision wasn't open everywhere I turned, I couldn't see around every car or in every truck bed. I didn't know where this dude was. I had seen the pattern he was following inside the store, but had no idea what the same compulsions would bring him to do outside. I was scared. And then I saw him. He was walking amongst the cars, up a driving lane, toward the store. I also spotted my car, directly in his path. Well, great. After grabbing both grocery bags into a single hand, I reached for my keys. I didn't have a pocket knife on me, and the closest alternative I have to a weapon is a wrench that I keep in my car's glove box. I slapped my ring finger into my key ring and tried to nonchalantly fit the keys through my fingers in case of a confrontation. I picked up my pace a bit. He was approaching fast, but I tried to be faster. He wasn't approaching me directly, not that I could tell. I just knew the dude was bad news, and I didn't want anything to do with him. Panic began to rise in my chest, and I fumbled the car's keys fob into my thumb and unlocked the door as fast as I could before reverting the fob back into my makeshift knuckle duster. That was when a Jeep roared around the corner and made a full stop just beside Burgundy Dude. It was my friend, my hero, my theoretical savior, Shortsman. His window was rolled down, and in a concise phrase, Dude looked pissed. He spoke to Burgundy Dude, not in a yell, but in an assertive raised voice, like a gym teacher having a bad day.
Do we have a problem? Do we have a freaking problem? What's the deal here? You think that's cute? Can I help you with something?
Burgundy Dude reacted in a flash. He pulled the brim of his cap down low over his eyes and broke out into a sprint deep into the rows and rows of cars away from me and Shorts Man. I lost him a few rows away, but I didn't see him leave the parking lot. Shorts Man turned his attention to me.
He messed with you too?
I couldn't speak for a second, and then finally mustered, no.
Yeah, feckless piece of crap.
This happened a few weeks ago, and I may be ad-libbing the other dialogue, but I remember that phrase distinctly. He looked out over the rows of cars Burgundy Dude had fled into, and said it as if he was spitting out phlegm. Then he drove away. Then I got in my car, and so did I. I don't know what happened to him past tailing Short Man. I don't know if he was trying to pickpocket him. I don't know if he was trying to steal his groceries. I don't know if they had confronted one another before Shorts Man pulled up on him. I don't know if Burgundy Dude was going to target me next. All I know is that I'm not going back to Walmart alone for a good while. The cookies were good, though. My mom and I were standing in line to check out at Walmart the other day, and this guy who was average height, wearing a hoodie and a beanie, got in line behind us. He was standing really close to us, and I immediately got weird vibes. Since he only had one item, and we had more, my mom said, "Would you like to go in front of us?" He responded with,
"Nope, I'm not impatient about anything. I spent 27 years in prison for a crime I didn't commit."
My mom said something like, "Wow, that's a long time." He then said,
"Haven't you ever heard of the Donald Whalen story? That's me. If you live around here,"
Bloomington, Illinois,
"I'm surprised you haven't heard about it. It was on the news, online, and there's a video of them releasing me on YouTube. You should look it up."
He then proceeded to tell us about how his father was murdered, and they charged him because his fingerprints were on the pool cue that was used to strike his dad. He said his fingerprints were on it because he played pool there earlier that day. They released him from prison because of someone else's DNA. He said this was the first big store he had been to since he had gotten out. He also said his lawyer bought him a Harley, which I thought was a little strange. We looked up Donald Whalen, and the picture was in fact who we met, and he was in prison for 27 years. We talked to my dad about it that night, and all he said was, with a straight face, "Donnie Whalen? The guy that murdered his dad? I used to work in the bar this happened at. That's why you don't talk to people at Walmart." He said it so matter-of-factly that it gave me the chills. My dad explained that Donald Whalen was a drug addict, and he murdered his dad at his work to rob him and get money to buy drugs. Apparently, a lot of people still believe Donald Whalen is guilty of murdering his dad, and I myself have suspicions as well. If you are curious about learning more about this guy, you can look up Donald Whalen, and he should be the first thing that pops up. If you want to see a picture of him, you can look up his name on Google Images. There you go, my dear listeners. I kind of thought that story was a good note to end on, with a potential murderer at Walmart. Doesn't get much more, creepy encounter at Walmart than that, right? Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy it, please do give it a thumbs up, like it, that helps a lot. If you enjoy my narrations, please do consider subscribing to the channel. Also, leave me a comment, letting me know what you thought of the video, or how you're doing. I would love to hear from you. Also, if you would like to share a story with me, you can go ahead and email me at the email address in the description below, or you can post it to my subreddit, which is also in the description below. Also in the description below is the source for all of these stories. That's a lot of things in the description below, sorry. Yeah, so the source for all these stories is also down there, as well as a couple other things if you want to click through them. I'd appreciate it. That all said, I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. Yeah, just have a fantastic weekend. Hope everything goes well for you. And I hope to see you on the next video, which looks like it might actually be Ghost and Apparitions. So, that'll be fun. Everybody, have a fantastic day, have a fantastic weekend, week, whatever you want to say. And until next time, sleep well.